What's up, guys? We're back. I'm Will. I'm writing a book. If you didn't know, if you haven't watched any of my previous videos, a book about awareness in my own journey, trying to just figure out my own life from the most emotionally mature standpoint that I can, educated by various books of psychology, spirituality, Buddhism, Hinduism, etc. Hours and hours of meditation, practicing for a few years now, and I still don't have it all figured out. And I'm still not perfect, and I'm still not a therapist. I'm studying economics, for fuck's sake. I have no credentials to tell you shit, but I hope I can meet you eye to eye here and say that you, me, and frankly, all those other people that do have credentials don't have their life figured out, and no one does. Everyone's trying to figure it out, and I am just here to share some things that are working for me or have worked, or I'm going to try to be working on that might work for me. So maybe you can then take into account if there's any benefit for that for yourself. There's no one way to live your life, and there's 7 billion people. I am one in them all, and so are you. And everyone's life is different, and everyone's life calls for different ways of going about it. Okay, so my hope is to just share some things, and maybe they help you go about some of the things that you're dealing with. So, cool, we got that out the way. Today I'm talking about something a little different, and this is kind of like a compass for me that I've created to help define my my compass, I guess you could say, going forward. Because the past few months have been interesting for me. I've had my ups and downs, and struggled with some things and haven't been able to keep clarity throughout it all, and have fallen off the wagon a little bit, not being as mindful and present as I would like, and not being perfect. Okay, and that's normal and that's fine, and frankly, it's bound to happen. Okay, and I believe through those hard times it's important to have a certain guide, and people might call them morals or values, whatever you want to call it, a certain discipline to keep up the framework to live a life and lead a life that is a good one for you, okay? And that's hard to know, especially at a young age when you don't know who you are or you're figuring it out. Or maybe you don't even like to label yourself as knowing who you are because you realize at a certain point that you are always changing and you are born anew each day. A new you is created through every experience and every moment of your life. So if you're someone like me, you kind of live a little bit more like that, and you take that ignorance with with a certain sense of like, yeah, we can go about it that way, and you're open to new perspectives and learning and admitting that you're wrong and growing. Okay, and me personally, I felt that way and felt it in a more insecure way in the past, and learned a lot from reading different perspectives, especially about the way that Buddhists live their life with attachments and such, and spiritual people, gurus, philosophers, educating myself on ways of people in this society that we might look up to as, just more in tune with themselves in the world, and lead a well lead a well lived life of peace and happiness, let's say. Maybe I think peace and happiness is my goal in this life, and living a fulfilling one. I have come to realize that peace is obviously not the point, though. It's not to always be at peace, okay? You need a balance, all right? You have to have down, some moments in your life where you're down, and that's going to teach you how to grow, okay? And that's not a bad thing. I haven't had my best moments the past couple months, but I know that those moments are the ones that are going to really propel me to grow more in the future, okay? And due to that, I am stumbling upon a new way through those struggles where I have kind of created my own, sort of guide and moral compass through these hard moments for myself, that I've written down and actually put on paper on a physical front, okay? And I haven't really done that before. I've made attempts in the past, but I find it hard to write something like this and, have this idea mocked up when, the way you live your life and the decisions that you make are really situational. And a lot of the time you need to go off, this trust that you're acting from the right place and you have good intentions. And, like one day, and I talk about in my last video, you might want to be a hard worker, but one day you might be faced with a lot of emotional turmoil from some stuff. And you may realize that working harder is actually you just avoiding your internal turmoil because you don't want to deal with it. All right. And that's a big thing that, this Western capitalistic society pushes you to do is just do more, do more, do more. Okay. And so trying to find a balance between pulling your inner world and growth from that and keeping it aligned with your external world, writing it down and making it make sense in the most fluid way possible. Although life is, life is so fluid, and to try to have such a set thing for yourself to follow is hard because you're not perfect. And if you're anything like me, you try to be perfect. When you're not, you beat yourself up for it. So you usually don't write stuff down like this because you know how your brain can get. But, who isn't up for a little challenge? And I've grown a little older now, and I think maybe something like this could be of my benefit, because for a while I was searching, for this type of perspective from other people and reading and, watching YouTube videos, listening to podcasts, all these sorts of things. And as I've kind of got more comfortable within my own self, I realized that only I really know what's best for me, and I don't need permission from someone else to tell me how to live my best life, okay? But I'm 100% open to change and to changing that, recognizing when I'm wrong, and realizing the ignorance that I have as a 21-year-old boy boy, man, whatever you want to call me, who has not experienced much in his life yet and still has a lot of learning and a lot of growing and developing and maturing to do. So I'm constantly open, but again, this is me just trying to figure out. And through some recent experiences, I found that maybe trying to draft up some version of perspective and manifesto, whatever you want to call it, for the way that I live my life might be an appropriate thing to do now, instead of just constantly, reading and looking outwards for it when, I think I have it. I don't think, I'm a smart kid, I think. Not super smart, but, smart enough to know what's best for me in at least a handful of situations that I go through on a daily basis, all right? But, it's all subjective, it's all opinion here, and nothing really too finite to pin down as right or wrong, morals are subjective, everything's subjective. So I'm just sharing this is what worked for me, and I'm about to share this little piece that I've written up, and hopefully will try to follow more so the rest of this summer as I'm going about this process of writing a book, to really make sure that I'm staying present and peaceful and intentional and working hard, because I have a limited time frame this summer before school starts back up to make some more progress on this book. And I would like to make the most of it, and I would like to be intentional about it. And I am still, handling things and dealing with other things. So I'm still figuring it out. All right, but I'm going to read this for you guys. It was like part of a journal, and then I had some editing and shit going on. So it sounds pretty clean, a lot more concise for you guys. All right. Okay. To being intentional. I want growth, real growth, not temporary motivation, not another dramatic reset, and not a version of myself that only exists when I feel inspired. Growth needs intention. To live intentionally, I need presence. To be present, I need a steady internal foundation. Peace helps create that foundation, but peace does not mean I will always feel calm, certain, or unaffected. It means I can recognize what is happening within me without immediately being controlled by it. My goal is not to feel perfect before I act. My goal is to understand myself clearly enough to choose my actions with intentions, even when my internal world is unsettled. Meditation and reading will be part of that foundation and has been a very crucial part, especially in the past. Meditation allows me to observe the fluctuations of my internal world. It helps me notice my thoughts, emotions, impulses, and fears, and desires as well, without treating every one of them as truth. Through meditation, I can become more aware of what deserves my attention and what needs to be released. Reading gives me perspective. It reminds me of the principles I want to live by and gives me language for experience I may not fully understand on my own. Meditation helps me observe my inner world. Reading helps me interpret and direct it. And that is something that I would like to do more for myself with reading, having it being my own stuff, my own beliefs, read my own, perspectives when I'm in a good head state, okay? And so together, reading and meditation combined, they can strengthen my attention, awareness, and focus. And I've seen proof of this in the past, and it's helped me a lot. But the purpose is not only to help me think more clearly, the purpose is to also help me act more clearly. Awareness must eventually become action, and movement is another part of this foundation. Walking, running, lifting, stretching, or simply moving my body allows me to reconnect with what is physically happening in the present moment. Breath and body become one point of focus, and I become less trapped inside my internal world. Movement can clear mental noise, regulate my energy, and return me to myself. It strengthens my ability to stay present, and presence gives me a better chance of making intentional decisions to build my future in the life that I want as of this moment. Taking care of my body is not separate from taking care of my mind. The food and liquids I consume also affect the way I experience my life. Through awareness and education, I have learned that what I put into my body influences my energy, focus, mood, and stability. I want to make choices that support the person I'm trying to become. That does not mean perfection. There's, of course, a time to go out, drink, celebrate, stop taking everything so seriously, because it's a balance, all right? Like yin yang, you gotta have the chaos, and the peace, but we're trying to choose more of the peace, and we're growing. We're in this chapter of growth, healing, and all, and balance matters. Yeah, man. So the goal is not restriction, and I don't want to be someone who's afraid and like an uptight prick. I want to, enjoy my life as well, okay? And have breaks and have fun times and be intentional about it, okay? And, be proud of myself and know that I also deserve that, because that is equally as important. And I'm proud of you, by the way. If no one said it to you recently, I'm proud of you. You're doing fucking great, okay? Yeah. And, the goal is not restriction. The goal is awareness. And I want to understand how food, caffeine, alcohol, sleep, and other habits affect me. Then make conscious decisions instead of acting blindly, because sometimes in the past I definitely have. My daily choices should create a more stable foundation. A steadier body can support a steadier mind. A steadier mind gives me more access to clarity, discipline, and intentional action. The people and environments around me matter too, okay? These are crucial. My energy is sacred. My attention is limited. The things I repeatedly expose myself to will influence the way I think, feel, and behave, okay? And if you got a lot of love in your heart like me, and you try loving a lot and being a good person to a lot of people, it's amazing. But, sometimes you just got to recognize that you got to really just slow it down a little bit. Make sure you're putting it back into yourself too, because you need it. You matter, all right? And let's keep it going. Because of that, I need to be conscious of who and what I give access to. All right. I do not have endless time for dishonesty, manipulation, pretending, playing games, constant negativity, just bullshit, and people who aren't, we don't got to get into it. But I don't, time for bullshit. And people that aren't about what you're about right now, like, you don't got time for that, and you shouldn't be wasting your time on that. And environments that pull you away from yourself and being the best version of yourself, all right? You want to be surrounded by good people, good environments, things that build you up, all right? That's the chapter of my life that I'm trying to be in right now. And, you know, doesn't mean we can't go out to the bar doesn't mean we can't go out to the bar on occasion or do some stupid shit. All right, but like let's not be uptight here, but you know what I mean. All right, guys. And yeah, at the same time, protecting my peace does not mean avoiding every uncomfortable person, conversation, or emotion by any means. Emotions are huge. We're not avoiding uncomfortability. We're not avoiding our problems or emotions. We're just recognizing what is toxic and what we may not have it in us to handle right now. And not saying we can't handle it, but we are just choosing not to because we have other things that we know we want to deal with first before getting to that. Okay, it's your priorities. Okay, and setting your priorities is something that's important. Especially as you get older, you realize it's not just about having a couple priorities. It's when you have a shit ton, and then you got to figure out, fuck, where does the ranking go? You know what I mean? And making it all work. Okay, keeping yourself in line and yourself in check always first. So yeah, so you're not trying to just avoid people, hard conversations or hard emotions by any means. That's not what I'm saying here. And discomfort is not always toxicity. Okay, and knowing the difference is something that I'm still understanding, but I think it's pretty obvious with certain things that are just like, it's toxic. Okay, like let's cut it out. Questioning is not always, manipulation. Some people and situations will challenge me in ways that help me grow. And I'm so grateful for everything that's challenged me these past couple of years because it has grown me so much. And I am happy that I've been struggling with some things the past couple of months because it's growing me and it's maturing me, okay? It's a beautiful thing. Even though it doesn't feel too beautiful all the time, recently it is, and I recognize that. So the real question is not whether someone or something disturbs my peace. The question is whether I can remain honest, grounded, self-respecting, and connected to myself around them or it. And healthy relationships or situations may challenge me, but they should not require me to abandon myself, okay? Some of the stuff hits hard from home, whatever the fuck the phrase is. So all of these practices, meditation, reading, movement, nutrition, rest, and intentional relationships and situations are meant to support the life that I'm building externally. They're not the final destination here, okay? They're the foundation, all right? You can't build a life off quicksand here. So we're always, in this age, my youth, we are really focusing on the foundation here and quality over just increasing the quantity and the magnitude of everything that I have in my life. Quality first, appreciating the little things first, developing the internal world, being content with just waking up in the morning, all right? That's where we're starting at, and we'll move up slow if it's what it means. If it's what life calls for. If it's a slow game, that's fine. We can be patient. We can learn to be patient. We can learn to appreciate things as they come and as they go, okay? And yes, wake up happy, okay? We're all trying, but that's most important. More important than getting a fucking like Lamborghini, right? Come on now. So yeah, the external world is where my values become visible, okay? And it is where I write the pages to my book, complete the assignments for my classes, show up to work, take care of my body, manage my money, keep promises to myself, set boundaries, build a future, and love and give love, most important thing. So I am building a disciplined and creative life right now, a life of love and a life of peace, and I'm not perfect, and I'm going to choose things intentionally and on purpose sometimes that won't align with that, but that's okay, all right? We're just trying to keep majority of the focus on the good shit, right? You know what I mean? So yeah, and yeah, I'm learning to make decisions based on my values, and trying to figure out what those are as I'm still growing instead of, temporary emotions. Developing my voice, all that stuff. Yeah, so my inner world should guide my actions, but it should not become a place where I hide from them, okay? And I will not wait until I feel perfectly peaceful, motivated, or certain before I move. Sometimes reflection will create clarity, and then I will act. Other times I will need to act with discipline first and clarity will arrive after. Okay. The relationships, the relationship moves both ways. My internal state shapes my actions, but my repeated actions also shape my internal state. All right. Let's say that one more time. My internal state shapes my actions, but my repeated actions also shape my internal state. Okay. It's a balance between discipline and peace and doing things for the right reasons. That is why writing things down matters. And clarity is not guaranteed to remain with me throughout the day. My energy will change. My emotions will shift. I will get tired, distracted, anxious, lonely, impulsive, or confused, angry, whatever the fuck is going on in the day. It might hit me some way. All right? It always does for everyone. But the principles will help me have something to return to when my state changes and when life hits me with some overwhelming things, and having a constant reminder of the positive and the good things and the ways that you would like to live your life matters. And I need routines that, don't disappear the second I stop feeling inspired or the second I start getting distracted. Getting direct with myself matters. Voicing what I want matters. Writing it down matters. And following through with it matters even fucking more, okay? And I'm not trying to preserve a perfect state. I'm trying to preserve a direction, okay? There's no perfect fucking state, all right? I've tried. I'm failed. I'm not a robot. But we're preserving a direction, okay? And that's what I'm going for. And the goal is to not become someone who never fucks up, all right? The goal is to become someone who notices sooner, lies to himself less, and corrects course faster and continues moving, okay? That is intentional growth. That is how the internal becomes external, and that is how I build the life I want. Okay? Woo. Yeah, so, it's kind of heat, no? Yeah. So, if you notice, my goals aren't make more money. My goals aren't, get straight A's, okay? I'm not, that's, that's just a byproduct, okay? My goal is here, my goal is actions, my goal is building the person I know I can be, and that person will then get thrown the grades or the money or whatever it is, but we don't need that. We're not trying to do that. That is not the goal. We're not doing things for end results over here. We're doing them for means. We're not doing them to get something. We're doing them because we want to do them, because we know they're going to challenge ourselves and grow and build who we are as a person, all right? And we are not going to be stuck in this cycle of just doing things for the end result, for the end characteristic trait like that. No, that's a sad life. That's waiting to be happy. I'm not waiting to be happy. I'm going to do things for the sake of doing them, and I'm not going to be perfect, and I'm definitely going to do things sometimes for the result. But we are working on it, okay? So all love, all perspective, all opinions. Like I said, I have no credentials to tell you shit, and maybe what I'm saying sounds positive, but it could also just be a bunch of bullshit in your eyes. So let me know if you disagree, or, if you have anything to say. And yeah, please share your opinions. Be disrespectful don't be disrespectful, be nice, but if you disagree, let me know with any of these things. And I would like to hear anyone's opinions if you have them on, moral compass and values, and how, and maybe what yours are, or what you abide to, or what do you live your life by, if you have those set up and literally physically written down. And how do you go about that? How do you go about things when, morality and values can change over time, and especially through experience and through situations? Sometimes it calls you to do something that you would have once deemed immoral, but now, it seems like it's the only plausible option. How do you justify having set morals for such a fluid life of changing and learning and growing and recognizing you're wrong and life is so fluid. How could you live it by such finite things? Okay. And this is my best at trying to create something abstract and not as finite. So if the finite route's a route you might steer to, let me know and tell me some ways you go about it. And obviously no one's perfect. So let's say you do have some morals or values. What do you do when you don't follow them? When you're not perfect, okay? Do you recognize when you do, or do you justify it, excuse it? Because I think I'm the type of person who would, I'd be aware of it and I would improve on it. But I could definitely catch myself holding some, that's why I hesitated for a while to write something like this and get something like this up, because having something that I don't follow verbatim, then I will start to be like, oh shit, I'm supposed to follow this, beat myself up for it. You know what I mean? But obviously that's something you can be aware of. And however you create room for error, with just being a human and not a robot, let me know how you do that. Some people seem to really do that, and I don't know, man. Okay, 26 minutes. This might be one of the longest videos I posted, and that was a lot of yapping. I'm out of here. Yeah, we're following this. We're trying to get this down. This should help the book process, but these are things that we're trying to implement and talk about through certain ways in the book. And just trying to share some positivity, express some things. So yeah, cool. All right. Love, guys. Love y'all. Take care. Talk soon.